I have to see if I can follow along with this in first draft. To have a mentor in life during one's youth is a tremendous source of hope. This is because it infuses one with ultimate vitality. I have been practicing Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism for 41 years now. My very first activity, which took place in May of 1981, was a youth cultural festival held in Chicago, Illinois. I was a new member. I started practicing, heard about chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo from a lady named Linda. And Linda invited me to a discussion meeting where I first heard Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. We got to the meeting after Ganyo was done, and I heard the experiences of several men who had overcome many obstacles through chanting. I was very excited to hear about this, as I had been seeking a Eastern philosophy of life that more aligned with my belief system. I grew up Catholic. I was very active in parochial school, being an altar boy, studying religion and debating others about the validity and the righteousness of Catholicism. Then when I went off to college and I started to do yoga, I got more interested in Eastern philosophy because I had a good friend in Nashville, Tennessee, where I grew up, whose parents were a doctor and librarian. They had spent some time in Thailand for the Peace Corps, and their home decor was always with Asian art. I had another good friend whose father was a doctor as well, and these two friends, Bobby and Ivan, had contrasting differences in how they lived their somewhat privileged life. Black people, but yet they had money. Both had homes at a lake. They had contrasting homes. One was like art and culture and music, and the other one was like sports and hunting and outdoors. I leaned toward the Ivan's family because from who did the Peace Corps work in Thailand, they had a modern house, they had a sailboat, it was books, and it was music. My friend Bobby said it was more like fishing, hunting, and motorboats. So again, back to college days is when I wanted to understand more about Eastern philosophy and start doing yoga, which opened up the doors to me thinking differently from my Catholicism upbringing. Fast forwarding, I was able to land a job in photography at a major department store in Cleveland, Ohio. But during this time, I was the only black person there. And as I came into the position, I started off at the bottom and with a desire to work myself up. But as it turned out, new hires that were not black were put in a step above me. This is when I started practicing this Buddhism. So I was really determined to not be defeated and use my practice to overcome each and every obstacle, which I was successfully at doing. And because of my angry nature, I knew that this was actual proof that I was benefiting from chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. I even shared chanting with my mom and told her that this is a great philosophy to bring happiness, but she resisted and wanted to entrain, still make me believe more in the Christian philosophy over the Buddhist philosophy. But I was not deterred at all. I participated in Soka Gakkai activities as a Young Men's Division member and attending the first World Cultural Peace Festival in Chicago, Illinois that June. At this festival, President Ikeda, Daisaku Ikeda was present, the then high priest of the Nichiren Shoshu sect, which as we know now we've been excommunicated from, was there. And people from all over the United States to put on this cultural festival of art, music, and dance. I was so incredibly moved by this organization's desire for a better world. There was one scene in particular where the Israelis and the Israelis and the Pakistanians embraced each other in a hug to show unity over their disagreements. Palestine and Israel, that's what it was. So after this trip, I remember we were going back to our buses, and there were sodas and snacks at every bus station. And it was a consideration I found later of President Ikeda's heart to show appreciation for everyone who attended. Because I was new to the practice, I didn't have any opportunities to participate other than a spectator, but I was so moved and touched, it really built up a desire to go hard when I got back to Cleveland and practice with my fellow Youth Division members. During that day, we were doing shakabuku or sharing Buddhism with people just right on the street and inviting them into a discussion meeting. In Cleveland, we did have a center, but we had many discussion meeting houses throughout the city, and we were going hard on propagation. It was here I think I built my confidence to talk to people, whereas I had just recently had that position with the major department store at the bottom level as a darkroom technician and fighting through each obstacle to move up the ranks. Long story short, I got to the pinnacle at that department store as a fashion photographer shortly before the store closed. And because of that reputation that I had, many local modeling agencies were hiring or sending their models and talent to me to be photographed, of which I opened up a studio. And as it turned out, the studio was right above a young woman that not much younger, but a few years younger, who had a jewelry studio below, and talked to the landlord and got a good rate, of which I built up the studio and ran a successful studio photography business for several years. But also in that experience back at the department store, there was one individual who was not liked very much by my colleagues, but I took a liking to him because I appreciated his tenacity at his religious beliefs. Every lunch break, he would go to Mass in the local Catholic church in downtown Cleveland. And I befriended him. And later, as he advanced out of the department store and moved to another retail outlet who needed some assistance with photography, he thought of me and brought me aboard, not as an employee, but as a subcontractor. This particular drugstore provided me with an income of over $200,000 per year for several years. It was a great opportunity for me and my family so that I could get them out of our inner city living into a suburban life. I want to talk a little bit about how my family got started. My wife and I met going to Japan on a trip for Tozan, it was called, or to the height, or what was the Shohando was this temple that has now been destroyed for chanting and a pilgrimage to Japan. And this is where we met on that trip. And shortly after that, we decided to get married. But we were on such a fast course. She lived in Chicago. She transferred her job to Cleveland. And we started a family pretty immediately. I have two beautiful daughters. And their mother is an awesome member, still active today and contributing to Kosen Rufu in Boise, Idaho, with our youngest daughter and our grandson. As a member of this organization, I've been able to meet and have friendships with people from all walks of life. I recall propagating this Buddhism in the hood. I remember participating in discussion meetings in the upscale suburbs of Cleveland. And the people I met, from physicians to street hustlers to just regular old Joes, all across the spectrum. I would once remembered a district leader telling me about how many of these people that he's met through the organization, back in the day, he would not even cross the street to spit on. And that really stuck with me a long time, how being in SGI has given me the opportunity to have conversations and meet so many different people who I believe have contributed to my overall ability to speak and talk to anyone. Back in those days at NSA, we often would have these incredibly great conventions throughout the United States. The very first one I attended was, besides the World Peace Festival, I've been to Philadelphia for conventions, New York City for conventions, San Diego, California for conventions, Honolulu, Hawaii for conventions, New Orleans for conventions. And again, participating as a youth division member, I even played in the brass band for a few years. One time on the bass drum, and another time rejuvenating my clarinet days from elementary school and playing an alto saxophone. Not very good at either one of them, but I tried my best and felt good about the opportunity to just participate in it. So, long story short, today I enjoy a very comfortable life with financial security that's getting better, health that has been sustained for many years, a roof over my head, food in my refrigerator, a decent means of transportation, and a wonderful job. It's not much more that I could ask for at this juncture. I'm just full of deep appreciation for the encouragement I received from the members in all these years, and the leaders who promised me that if I would continue to practice this Buddhism, I would become happier beyond my wildest imaginations, which I find to be true today. So with that, I want to thank you for your long patience and listening to my experiences. And if there's any questions that you have about this experience or something, do not hesitate to ask. Thank you so much for watching. And that's almost 13 minutes.